got, I'll gladly take it.
Oh my God.
All right. And we are
Although I
back.
do miss the dicks out for Harambe, but
I know. I'm like, damn, I gotta try not to get fired. I can't have your dicks out for Harambe. I'm like, damn it.
listen, they'll understand or get a new job.
Oh my God.
Exactly. That's a good idea. Just fuck them. Fuck them.
Like,
They
yeah,
can't
I'm
make a
willing
joke,
to
fuck
just,
'em.
I'm putting in my 2 weeks. Why are you putting in your 2 weeks, sir? Because I whipped out.
Because
Yeah.
I have like 2 viewers on Facebook, so I'd rather have that than this job.
All right, boys, what we drinking tonight? Anyone drinking something good?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Ooh, fuck yeah, he says. Oh,
Snap.
my man's got something expensive over there. I'm
What's
going a
that,
little
man?
expensive too. It got me
Okay.
a little private stock, little Morgan from
Oh, yeah?
my fat neck boy back over there.
This is what I got, fellas. I got the pure white Henny.
Ooh, the pure
Yeah.
white. I've never seen that bottle before. That is hot. That's good stuff. Well,
Oh,
cheers.
yeah, it's good too, man. It's super smooth.
Yeah. All right. So today we're going to tackle something a little more intense.
Oh, my.
Right off the bat.
You know, you can always count for somebody to be hating, but it's all good, man. I ain't paying no mind. After what the Patriots did last week, man, I'm not gonna say nothing else. Need I say more?
Oh man, right off the bat, the hate comes pouring in. See,
I know.
you remove the Harambe quote, and then it's like,
I know. Then it's keyboard warrior shit immediately.
That being said, the Eagles do suck. Anyway, so we are gonna get into.
Man, look, I got a Cowboys gnome back there. I feel you.
Oh, listen, man, I have solemnly vowed this year that I'm not gonna talk trash about the Cowboys. That went down, and I was like, I don't feel right doing this. I
You
can't
picked
do
the
it.
best fucking year to ever not talk shit about the Cowboys.
Man, we're all easy targets. The NFC East is terrible this year, man. So if I did talk trash, I mean, I would have to talk shit about myself too. So I just rather just leave it all flat.
All right, true.
We all suck.
We're good.
I mean, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good as a Lions fan in this room right now. Like, I'm feeling pretty happy about myself, y'all.
you got about 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
You got about 2 more.
Hey, we're at 500 right now. That's all that matters. Like the rest of it's a wash. We go
winning
50.
record. We're good with that.
That's what I'm saying. We get one more win, we're just gonna call it. Like, oh, season's over.
Season's over. We won.
We're done.
Sir, you got 4 wins. No, we won. That's it.
You know,
That's
the
it.
season's only half over, Detroit. Yeah, no, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, stop there. We're good.
Oh shit. Oh, all right. So let's get into this craziness. Who we got? We got anybody hanging out? What we got? Oh yeah, Christy, of course. Hey Christy, what's up? So yeah, so for those of you who don't know, and probably that's mostly everybody, Dennis is a military brat, as a lot of people that we know are, and he also he works in the admissions department. Is also a professor at Morgan State College up there in Maryland, right? Up that away. Morgan State is, and then correct me if I'm wrong, a historically black college university, right?
Yes, sir.
So, which is a really interesting job to have to deal with, I think, day in and day out, especially in today's climate, right? That being said, the reason that we thought it would be a pretty interesting topic to have you on as a guest, because I think you have a pretty unique perspective. You grew up in your stepfather was white, your mom's black, obviously, your dad is black, obviously, and you have a pretty good relationship with all of them, I would say. And with the climate that it is, you gotta go back past the George Floyds and back past everything. And it's really no change. This has just happened to be, and I say it often, the straw that broke the camel's back. With George Floyd being killed, it really whipped everyone into a frenzy. Anyone who gave a shit that is that really cares about what's going on. And I guess the question is, the starting question here is that do you think that with this election, do you think that anything's going to change? Do you think that anything's going to get better? This is something we talked about last week. Do you think that if Biden wins, that suddenly black folk are going to be like, we're good. We're cool, man. Hey, I mean, like, what's your opinion here, man?
So no. I mean, that's the short answer. Right. I think that he made smart moves in the choices that he made in terms of who's running with him. You bring a black woman in as your VP, you win the woman's vote, because women are going to look at it and be like, I'm going to try and support her as best I can. And then you win, people of color's vote, because clearly we're all sick of the antics when it comes to certain things that have been said and certain actions that have been played out over the course of the last 4 years. But do I think that things are going to change and, all of a sudden things are going to get better for black people and rainbows are going to shoot from the sky and, all is going to be right with the world? Absolutely not. I definitely don't think so. So
you said something about his pick of VP. Do you think that the fact that he decided it was going to be a black woman before anybody else, I'm picking a black woman, you don't think that was just kind of going for it, like going out for the vote that way?
No, I definitely think it was. I think a lot of it was. I think it was a strategic move. I don't think it was because he necessarily agrees with everything that she says or her policies or whatever the case may be. You're trying to win. And what we saw, 4 years ago was we had somebody who thought, I got this in the bag, everything's going to be good. And then she lost. And, she wasn't the best option either. But once again, I think that to ensure that that party wins, they did what they thought was going to be best strategically for, him moving forward.
Okay. I think that I don't want to say I had a problem with it, because Kamala I don't have a problem with at all. In fact, I like her as a candidate. I don't like the fact that he was like right off the bat, I'm going to choose a woman and a person of color if I can. Mm-hmm. To me, it's not that I have any issue, and I think those who know me better than that. I think that the issue there is that it almost seems like pandering. You're going to pander to these people, this group of people, because she is a woman of color, like no other reason. And to me, that's like, I shouldn't say no other reason. She's obviously qualified. Mm-hmm. But right off the bat, beforehand, he was like, I'm going to do this. I don't care who it is, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't personally care for that. I think
and they all do it.
Trivialize.
They all do it.
They all have their own forms of pandering. Like when, they get into these positions where they're getting ready to run against a Republican, you see them on both sides do it. Like Hillary Clinton, she goes on the Breakfast Club. She's talking about having hot sauce in her bag. Like
that woman ain't never had hot sauce.
Exactly. I'm not. I wasn't going to say it. I was just going to leave it at that point, and I was going to move forward.
Never fucking had hot sauce.
No.
She gets
that somebody prepped her for that.
She gets chicken and leaves that hot sauce in the bag. And she's like, "Ooh, that's spicy." Ooh.
Listen, I'm gonna leave that one to y'all. I'm gonna let y'all say that. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody's done it. Trump gets up there and he says, the blacks love me. I don't know who the blacks are, but they love me. And Biden the same way, and he did the same thing with Kamala Harris, and people are gonna look at it as a good move. I can't say that it's a bad move. It was smart, but do I feel like she's going to go in and a whole bunch of stuff is going to be changed? There's going to be massive reform? No, because you still have all these other branches, all these other, people in power that are going to push back the same way they did when, Obama was in office, and, now Trump being in office, he's getting certain pushbacks on certain things too. So it's going to be the same, push and pull game. I don't think anything's going to majorly change.
So I think we can all agree that nothing's good. What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
I thought someone was getting abducted by aliens. Shit.
What
Wait,
happened?
listen, we can all agree that nothing is changing with this election. It doesn't matter who's getting elected. Nothing's going to happen. So, we know what needs to change. What changes it? A short answer, as fast as what do you think can change it? One thing.
So you guys actually talked about that last week, and do you feel like anything is going to majorly change it? And I put in the comments that I only feel like there's one solution that would drastically change things to bring equity, not just equality, but equity.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Because that's a conversation that a lot of people seem to kind of get confused. You can provide equality. For example, if I saw a picture, I think it was on Facebook, it was 4 individuals, and it was a tall guy, it was a kid, it was a short woman, and it was a guy in a wheelchair. And they put equality in one, and they gave them all the same bike. So equally, you guys all get the same bike.
Right.
But clearly, that still doesn't work for everybody. The man in the wheelchair is not going to be able to hop on a bike and push a bike.
Right.
A kid isn't going to be able to ride the same bike that an adult rides. A short woman isn't going to be able to ride the same bike that an adult 6'5" male is going to be able to ride if she's 5 foot or 4'11".
Right.
Equity gave them all a bike, but all a bike that tailored to them specifically. So that the man in the wheelchair, he had, this 3-wheel bike that pushed him forward. The child had a child's bike. The woman had a bike that fit her, and the male had a bike that fit him. So that's really the conversation that needs to be had. It's not about equality. It should be about equity. But the only thing to me that would change or really shift the paradigm that would give everybody an equitable opportunity would be for all of the structures that affect Americans and people alike across the board to be completely torn down and dismantled and then built back up. And that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's a really cool
It's not going to happen. Because when you look at issues with race, it's not just about, I'm white, I hate black people, or, I'm going to discriminate against this person because of this. That's not really what it is. It plays into every single status and every single, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty much beacon that we have in our lives. When you talk about economics, you talk about education, you talk about the housing system, you talk about politics, all of that have undertones that oppress people of color. So how do you change that? Putting people into office and hoping that laws and reforms, come together aren't going to change that. We've had this structure in place for how many years? And we across the board see the same exact things happen over and over again. And it might get a little bit better, but really, has it all that much? I mean, we're only 60 years removed from Black people being able to vote. Not even 60 years. I think it's like 56.
Yeah, but when you say like 56 years, God damn it, it's my fucking headphones or something again. When you say 56 years, that's one person. I mean, kind of change that we're talking about here is change that happens over a generation. And I think from that 60 years to now, there's been a lot of change. It's not like it was 60 years ago, but we're talking about one lifetime, one person's lifetime. This is the kind of change that happens over generations.
I think the argument here, though, is that, you're saying that, it's a slow change. And, I feel like people's families have been dealing with this slow change for quite a while. And
I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's a slow change.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that people who are like, there has been change. You notice there aren't any more colored only drinking fountains. And you're like, yeah, bro, but it's not we're still not on the same playing field. Just because I can go in the same restaurant and you doesn't mean that we're equal. And
you're not even guaranteed that when you walk into that restaurant that you're getting the same type of respect that somebody else does. It's a gamble every time. So it's gotten better, but when you're literally at the bottom of the barrel and then you talk about, now you're maybe a little bit higher than the bottom of the barrel. So things have gotten better. Yeah, they've gotten better, but really by how much? And is it something
I'm not making that argument.
Damn
it. I'm not saying we should be happy. I'm not. God, hold on. Fucking shit.
You got the CIA operative thing going on, man. Like, he's reaching out to the people. He's safe.
So let let me bring in this conversation here. So we got a comment here that says personal responsibility and stopping victimhood mentality. Black kids growing up being taught by parents that people not of color will always profile them, etc., based on their skin color. That instantly puts them into the victim mentality. It begins at home. So I'm not 100% sure on what this means here, except that I think what he's trying to say is that white people, let's just call it out here, that white people are being taught that that people of color are going to be whatever, violent or whatever it might be. Maybe I'm wrong here. It's that instantly puts them into the victim mentality. It seems like a little bit of both here, that either they're saying that black kids being taught.
But I don't think that's teaching you to be a victim.
No,
I
don't
think that teaches you to be a victim at all. Now, if you went out there and you said your life's gonna suck because of what's going on and there's nothing that you can do to change that, so you might as well not try, then that may put you in a victimhood mentality. Like, okay, well, no matter what I do, it's never going to be good enough. I'm never going to elevate. I'm never going to get out of this. So why bother trying? That would, to me, be a victim mentality.
Do you think that or have that issue right now, that they're feeling kind of hopeless in that in that mindset? Like, hey, man, with this country the way it is, I'm basically just, I'm going to be stuck here. Like, this is going to be it.
I think it depends on what demographic of people you're talking about, because you have, within race, you still have class.
True.
And that ultimately gives you different sections and different people that you're really talking to. So when you're talking about lower class black people who live in, predominantly, inner city areas where you don't have, areas to get resources or access to resources, access to transportation, access to healthy food options, it's hard to see things progressing when you see the same around you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, how can you change that? What changes that? You bring up the inner cities and that mentality. What changes it? Because you're not going to get more money there. Where's the money going to come from? Should the government take care of it? Should the people pay more taxes?
Well, even when the government has opportunities to do it, a lot of times they don't.
Oh, I know. They always say they're going to. They're like, oh yeah, vote for me. We're taking care of you. You guys are getting phones. We got you. And then they don't do fucking shit ever. Yeah. So it's just the same shit every 4 years. It's the same bullshit pandering and nothing changes.
And on both sides, I'm not, I'm very realistic when it comes to change and when it comes to people, when it comes to policies. I don't really do a lot of political back and forth. To me, it's like, when does it stop being more about politics and start being more about character and people really following through on what they say they're going to do? Because on both ends have failed. It's not like I'm sitting here pro-Democrat, like all the Democrats have done their great things for inner city people and the Republicans haven't, and vice versa. It's hard to say what would change it, because they've put, policies and things into place that they say are going to help people, and then it doesn't, or it doesn't really feed to, people that live in these areas where they don't have a lot of resources, a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities, things like that. But at the same time, you get upset at these people for, staying on welfare or using the system and trying as best they can to navigate avenues in order to be successful. It's impossible. I mean, you can't function and live off of $8, $9, $10 an hour. It's impossible. They've done studies to show it. I mean, you could live in the lowest of low in terms of payments and, rent, things like that, and you still can't survive. And my undergrad is in social work, so I did an internship at an inner city school in Baltimore City. It's called St. Francis Academy. It's one of the oldest African-American Catholic schools around. So, I did my internship there, and I kid you not, it got to the wintertime and these kids didn't have heat. So they're coming into chapel in the morning and they're all wearing jackets with no heat. So you're talking about hundreds of students that don't even have access to the things that they need in order to be comfortable so that they can focus in an environment to better themselves. So what do you do about that? But then, on the other end, you're expecting these kids to pick themselves up by their bootstraps or, whatever the case may be. And, it's all about opportunity and them being able to do better for themselves. But like I said, they don't have the resources they need in order to do better for themselves. A lot of the times when you talk about it. Yeah.
No, yeah. The thing we need to have is absolutely equality of opportunity. 100%. We don't have that. We're not even close.
We don't have that even in like the majority, like the straight white males of the world. Even we don't have that equal opportunity, or equality. Is that, if I'm poor and you're rich, you're still going to have more opportunities, even if it doesn't cost money. It's just knowing that you're wealthy compared to me not being wealthy. You're going to get more opportunities.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just going to be. I mean, these questions that we're asking, it almost seems like insurmountable. Like the idea that what do you do to help inner city Black students get heat so that they can attend mass or church or whatever it is, or even just go to school? And it's like, fuck, man, like, is that the priority? What's the priority? Like there's so many problems. The idea that we have one priority over another is like,
and then the penalties for trying to give your child the best, which is what a parent's job is. You want your kid to have the best opportunity that they can. The penalty is so steep, it's hard to do anything. Like, for example, I think it was in DC, somebody else's address so she could send her kid to a better school. And they found out and they gave her 5 years.
Oof.
Wow.
But you have these, rich white women who literally cheated for their kids in order to get into better colleges, and they get house arrest. So now you've effectively taken this child's parent away for trying to do what they see as best because they don't live in the right zip code.
So do you think that it starts with the criminal justice system? Do you think that would be, if you had to start somewhere, do you think like criminal justice reform would be the place to start? Or do you think that we need to start with the welfare system or with the policing, with the government subsidies? I mean, it could be 1,000 things, but kind of like where, if you were going to pick, to me, I would start with the criminal justice system because it feels like it's the place that needs the most reform right now.
But they won't, and there's so many reasons why they won't. And if you look at the 13th Amendment, there is a documentary that I advise everybody to watch. I make my students watch it every semester that I teach. It's called The 13th. It's on Netflix. It's a great documentary, but it talks about exactly what we're talking about, the prison reform system, and how over the years throughout each presidency, it has pretty much, it goes to 20 times the amount of people that are now incarcerated in comparison to years before they started cracking down on crime. You are technically not a slave when they, pass all these different laws and regulations. You don't have slavery anymore. Good, that's gone. Hands wiped. But what the 13th Amendment effectively does is it says if you are incarcerated or you're locked up, you pretty much lose your rights as an American or as a human.
It's true.
So when you think about it, even you can look at some of the articles in California with the firefighters. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they've got inmates putting out fires and they're not getting paid even $1 for doing it. Right. But you're risking your life to stop these fires.
Yeah, so, there's stuff going on right now through California saying that there are certain areas that are saying if you volunteer to be a firefighter, even though you're in prison, that it will count towards credit for college and stuff, and a vocational rehabilitation, so that if you get out and you want to become a firefighter, that already transfers. But
you see how shitty that is? Like, in order for you to get an opportunity, you have to risk your life to get credit so that you can better yourself. It's not enough that you did your time for the crime that you did.
Right.
Now, in order for you to even try to break even, you have to risk your life out here for credit.
It's true. Yeah, I mean,
Other countries don't do that. You pay your dues in the time that you put in terms of your incarceration. You get out. They help you find jobs. They help you do things that will literally rehabilitate you so that you don't go back in. America is one of the only countries that doesn't do that.
well, once we privatize the military industrial complex, once it becomes privatized and starts making money, that's when people are.
Oh yeah, lobbying the government, keep them in, more laws, more rules, more sentences, mandatory minimums.
And
I'm telling you, if you watch the 13th, it goes over all of that. It goes over companies that profit off of using black bodies for their products, to make their products. Like I think I can't remember what gene company it is, but inmates are literally the ones that are making their products. Furniture, clothing, medical devices, all that stuff. It covers all of that. And countries, I can't remember, there's an organization in it.
Weren't they doing that in California?
Yeah. I mean, and many other states, many other rural states use inmates for these different things. And there's like this over umbrella organization that works with all these companies that actually can put laws or suggest laws to lawmakers who they know are going to follow it because they're being paid to do it. So even in that, you have organizations. I think Walmart was one of the ones involved, Wendy's, Pizza Hut, all these different organizations that are involved in this umbrella kind of overview that put laws into place that benefit them. And once they got caught doing it, a lot of them tried to pull back and back out. But they've got documentation and proof and even recordings where they went to these legislation meetings. And he's like, I can't remember who it was, but he's literally asked, did somebody put this into place or suggest this to you for you to move it forward? And he said, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. He's like, that's weird because the stamp of that organization is literally on top of the paper. You forgot to remove it.
Straight caught. Just caught.
Yeah.
But you won't hear anything about that. You'll hear about looting or people tearing up businesses or, things like that. You're not hearing all the things that are going on in the background that are literally destroying these inner city communities from building themselves back up.
Yeah.
You're just looking at the negative things that these people do so that you can, in a sense, justify the wrong that's being done against them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the media in a nutshell, though, because, you have one side that's showing nothing but riots, nothing but fires, nothing but looting, the conflict with the police. And then you have the other side that's just showing nothing but peaceful shit. And if you can just get to the middle at some point and show people what's actually happening, they can make sense of it for themselves. It's the way it's showed to everybody is fucking bullshit.
Oh, yeah. And it's control. It's a form of control. And I think the question was asked, like, have things gotten better? And to me, no, in the sense of things that are going on, it really hasn't. It's just, it seems, I think it's about the same when it comes to race relations and things along those lines. I think that now we have moved into the technological era where everything's documented. Imagine all the burnings and the hosings and the beatings that you would see if we had the same forms of media 70, 80 years ago.
That's true. You have no pictures, and even then, that's enough.
You would see so much more of the same of what's going on right now then.
Yeah.
Right.
And people, to me, it's like this. How many of you guys, did you both watch the Hunger Games?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
really afraid of where this is going.
we go into the Hunger Games to keep people oppressed, right? Which we all agree on.
Right.
You have a little black girl named Rue.
Yeah.
Who gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
And Katniss buries her, puts flowers around her, this beautiful thing, does the 3-up.
I'm gonna cry over here.
Okay, that is not my purpose. It was a great movie.
I
don't want anybody shedding any tears.
I'm gonna put my fucking fingers in the air.
But how many people felt that part
I was down here
Yeah.
doing that with my fingers too.
For real, all three of them. Like this. But how many of us agreed when they showed back to her family and they panned back to her district and people started fighting and going at it and destroying stuff? We all agreed. We were like, yeah, everything needs to burn. This is wrong. But when we see it play out in real life with real bodies and real people really sit here and say, oh, it's wrong. And you're talking about 500 years of oppression and beatings and burnings and oppression. And then you're talking about people just being able to not have any more of that. Like there are no residual effects. And like I said, we're only not even 60 years reserved away from having basic human rights. But now we're expected that everything is now just supposed to be okay. And we're just supposed to pick up and keep it moving. And Black people are resilient. It's one of our best qualities. Through all of this, we have still managed to be here. And a lot of areas that people aren't, or people wouldn't make it. But nobody looks at the Jewish community and says you need to get over the Holocaust. Nobody says that.
The Holocaust didn't exist or didn't happen. And I'm just like, oh, what? The Holocaust deniers? I don't know if you've ever looked into that. That's up there with the flat earthers, man. What are you talking about?
But nobody's expected to just get over that. Nobody is expected to see them flying Nazi flags in Germany and be okay with it.
It's true.
But we have to be subjected to see people flying the Confederate flag, people, saying that they would have preferred things to be a certain way or talking to you a certain way, and you're just supposed to respond and be okay with it. And it's not okay. I find myself exhausted by all of this. It is tiring. I had to take off work when I found out about the whole situation with George Floyd. I took off work. I was so overwhelmed and disgusted by what happened, I couldn't even get up to work.
And see, I think, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that's kind of the issue here that people of color are dealing with. I mean, that Black folk are dealing with that white people just can't understand, and I think that, being told that, you don't understand, or the idea of white privilege or any of that stuff, and then you get offended as a white person. And I'll be the first to admit, when I heard the term white privilege, I was like, who is privileged? Like, I grew up not very wealthy. I grew up, having to walk my ass to school. Like I didn't grow up with a silver spoon by any means. Where's the privilege there? I think the idea is that people get really upset about that. White people, get upset that you're saying, oh, you're privileged. It's like, and it's like, man, what's that?
I just want to throw it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
Well, I think that you don't care because you don't have to. I think the issue there is that you don't understand what they mean. It's the same thing with global warming. It was a terrible choice of phrase. The point was perfect. The phrase could have used a little work. The problem is that when you hear white privilege, you're like, I'm not privileged. When
people get angry by that, and for the life of me, I truly don't understand, because having white privilege doesn't make you guilty. I don't know why people feel like when we say, oh, you have white privilege, it's mentally like an attack, and it's not. If you sat in a room and you asked a room full of white people, which I can't remember what her name is, but she does a lot of talking regarding sociology and psychology and these types of things. And she asked a room full of white people, raise your hand if you'd want to be Black. Nobody raised their fucking hand. If you felt like it was equal across the board, it probably wouldn't be that big a deal to you. But not one person raised their hand.
No, hell no.
It is not a shot to say, oh, you're privileged, so you're an asshole. That's not the point that we're coming from. You just automatically get certain benefits from just being white that I don't get, and that's okay. But you have to acknowledge it.
No, I don't agree with that. That's okay. what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that, if we're talking about equality and we go back to that, that we had spoken about before, it's not okay. It's not okay.
Let me clarify. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm not saying okay as in it should be happening. I'm saying it's not an attack against you for me to say that you have white privilege.
No, and I understand what you meant.
Okay.
And my statement is that, I don't believe it is okay, but it's also something that you don't realize you have as a white, I say straight white male all the time, because it's the group, the genre with the least amount of issues. Okay. So that's why I say.
Well, I mean, I think the issue with the white privilege is that it's used as a weapon. Every time that someone's like, no, I don't agree. Oh, it's because you're white privilege. You don't know. Well, no, I disagree with it. No, it's because you're white privilege. It's like, as soon as it becomes a fucking weapon, then people stop giving a shit. I mean, as soon as you say anything, it's either you're racist or it's because you're white privilege you can't understand. And that's the way our society is at now with social media and fucking Facebook and Twitter and everything else. There's no way to have conversations. It's your white privilege.
But what's unfortunate is that we don't, at least for me, I can't speak for everybody. That's not the type of conversation I want to have.
Right.
But what I also want people to understand is certain things that people of non-color white people say in the way that they say it come off so disrespectful, and they don't even realize that they're doing it sometimes until they're checked. And it's like, no, that's racist. Or no, you realize that you're showing exactly what we're talking about when it comes to white privilege. And instead of like saying, well, let me understand why you feel that way, people automatically get defensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I didn't mean it that way. Or no, I didn't say that. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters how it's interpreted. If I go to Dustin and me and Dustin, we talk shit to each other constantly. That is our form of language. I don't know any other. If he gets on the mic with me when we're playing games and he's like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "What's wrong? What happened? What do I need to know?"
It's true.
If he came to me and said, "You hurt my feelings by saying this," and my reaction to that is, "Well, that's not what I meant." That's not an apology. Nor is it a means for us to have an open dialogue so that we can come to a middle ground. And even when Black people tell you, no, that's not what this purpose is for, or no, that's not what I'm trying to say, I'm saying this, people already have it made up in their minds of what it is. A perfect example of that is Kaepernick. He literally came out, I don't know on how many different platforms, and said, my kneeling isn't a disrespect to the military. In no way, shape, or form is this a disrespect to the military. I sat down with a vet who told me this would be the best way to handle this. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not okay. That's not okay. You get paid to play football. That's what you need to be doing. And it's like a dismissal of exactly what it is we're trying to explain to you. So we can't protest peacefully, because that's wrong. We can't use our platform, which we worked hard for. People act like he was just handed that position, or that people of color are just handed their positions without any merit. The LeBron Jameses of the world, the Ray Allens of the world, the Colin Kaepernicks of the world, they worked in order to get what they have. You know what I mean? So now you're telling me that based off all my hard work that I can't do anything but this?
Right.
Like you did me a favor. So I can't use my platform because I'm rich and I don't experience this stuff, which we know is not true.
Right.
And it becomes redundant, it becomes disrespectful, it becomes exhausting, and it becomes angering to have to explain yourself over and over again when you don't feel like you have to. I shouldn't have to explain myself on why I don't want to stand for something that wasn't even meant for us. Look at the third verse. I'm asking, I'm not sure if you guys know. Do you guys know what the third verse says of the national anthem?
I would say absolutely.
Okay, so give me a second, because I think I have it on my phone. Hold on. Give me 1 second. So this is exactly what it says. This is just a piece of it. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave. Who the fuck is standing for that?
That's probably they don't put that word.
But you would never hear about it. Nobody hears about that because they swept it under the rug. They do the first good verse. Everybody's patriotic. Everybody's happy. But then when you dig into it and you see that Francis Scott Key put that slaves can't get away, we're going to find you and hunt you down, who's going to stand for that?
Yeah, I can definitely see where it's a problem. But I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago, where you talked about when you're trying to have a conversation with people and how they react and how it's defensive and how it doesn't go anywhere. I think it's the same across the board, man. White people, black people, Democrat, Republican, right, left, whatever. There's no way to talk to people anymore. And just the way our society is anymore, it's just screaming and yelling, and there's no way of finding a middle ground, no way of finding a solution. So I just don't know where to go from here. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying everybody.
No, absolutely.
That's why I'm doing this now, because of that fucking reason. Because
I want people to understand is that there is reactive behaviors to actions, and people rarely look at the action. They look at the reaction. Black people may have their guard up because think of everything that we've been through. That's like you get your ass whooped by a bully day in and day out, and then you finally get to the point where you're ready to beat his ass, and he's like, no, I want to talk. Well, shit, you didn't have the past 3 weeks to talk, but you've been beating my ass every day.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying that's how people feel trying to talk to black people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we just went all around. I wasn't saying trying to talk to black people feels like shit.
I'm just kind of, and not at all. I'm not saying that's what you're trying to put out there, but when you say race and you say it's across the board, I'm just giving context to when you're talking about conversations about race, why it's so tense. You can't have that conversation because you have a history of things that have happened on both ends. One group may feel guilty, but won't really say it. And then the other group feels hurt based on everything that's happened. It's hard for you to come to a healthy middle ground when you have all these factors in the middle that keep barriers from you having that conversation. And then, like you guys said last week, you guys have these keyboard warriors who, get tough and want to say all this stuff online, but don't really want to have a productive conversation.
Yeah.
And even when you look at the way that we connect, most people don't even have face-to-face conversations where you can hear the dialect in somebody's voice or the tone, so you know whether they're being aggressive or non-aggressive, or if they're frustrated or they're angry. You shoot a text message and you have to interpret how people feel, and it I can say probably 50% of the time doesn't come through the way that it's supposed to.
No, dude, I've gotten so much for saying something and not realizing because I'm typing.
Yeah.
No.
Unless you deliberately put LOL after everything you say.
Please add a comma. If you do, it's really bad without the comma.
Yeah. So I mean, the problem with all this, and we talk about the plethora of fucking problems here. Where to start and what to do, and it's you go back to the third verse, right? Is that we're talking about that, and this has been ingrained since, let's just say, since the founding, right? Since the founding of this country, we're talking about. And I know, we emancipated the slaves, and we have taken steps to provide equality, whatever, however you want to say it. But I think until we can have these real conversations where you actually have some understanding, like, hey man, I don't understand what it's like, and be okay with not knowing, being okay with maybe having a part in being wrong, and accepting that on both sides, like there's the idea that black people are frustrated is a no fucking brainer. I mean, like it's like fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit, Dustin.
You know what I'm saying? Like
just a smidge.
Right,
just a smidge.
That's the problem, is that not everyone believes that. Not everyone feels the same way. It's like, why are you frustrated, man? We freed you guys. Like, your grandma was free. It's like what, you know what I mean? Like there's still people that believe that. People that
Grandma was
Oh my
free.
God.
grandma was free. It's like, yeah, but my great grandma wasn't. Like, what the fuck? You know, like, so we're talking like issues in that maybe when you say, or when you hear white people say, well, I never had slaves. I don't have a problem with, whatever. And it's just like, that's not the point, bro. Like, we know you didn't have no, you work at Walmart. You ain't have no 200 years ago. You ain't have no slaves. So the idea that that black folk are mad and white folk are mad because they're being called racist, even if their words are misinformed or misused. I'd be lying if I wasn't called a racist. I've been called a lot of terrible things.
I've been called a racist a lot of times. I've been called a lot worse.
I've been called a lot worse. Not that being racist is good, but I've been called a baby killer, like right to my fucking face.
Oh God.
So, I mean, that was probably the worst. And but
Tell your mom I said hi.
I don't even know where that goes, but fuck you. No, man, it's the weirdest thing. I was walking through the Atlanta airport when I was in the Army, and I was in uniform, and they have a big ass like pylon. I don't know if you guys flown out of Atlanta before, but they have this like big obelisk, and then the food court goes all the way around it. And I was walking through with my bag and like going back to Afghanistan, and this woman was sitting in a Wendy's little thing, and she's like, "Get the fuck out of here, you baby killer!" And I went, like, I'm like a private at this point. I'm in the Army. Like, I don't know shit. And yeah, that was I was like, that hit me fucking sideways.
Like, excuse me, ma'am, I literally just signed the paperwork. I have no clue what you're talking about.
I kill babies. Like, yeah, but anyway, but I digress. So I think the solution here for me, I think the solution is having these conversations. It's having this is impossible to even say. Having black people and white people come together and have a conversation, which is fucking impossible because it's not like one-on-one. It's like,
no,
I'm picturing like Rocky and Rocky 4. Like, if we can, all can, like that speech at the end of the movie, it's excellent.
You just got to be willing and open enough to have those conversations and going in knowing, that one, it's going to be a hard conversation. It's not easy for anybody. Nobody wants to have a conversation about what their, ancestors did and what's going on now. And then nobody wants to have a conversation about what happened to their ancestors and what's happening now.
I think
nobody wants to have that conversation.
People have a fucking problem figuring out that there's generational memory. It's passed on through your generation.
It's true.
Like, you're born with instincts. You're born feeling things. You're born with anger. You're born, like, we're talking generations of oppression and hate and anger get built up, and that's why we have riots. And I can understand that completely. So I don't get angry when I see riots. I understand why people are so fucking pissed. I get it.
But I don't even like that term. And I know that's the best thing that people. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, man. I'm listening. My bad.
I don't know where it goes from there. What happens after riots? When do we move past riots and actually affect change? Because riots aren't going to change it.
I don't even think that they should be called riots.
What do you think?
They're uprisings. It's not like these people are just going out destroying shit for the sake of destroying shit. Something happened that caused that to happen. But people don't look at the action. You kneeled on a man's neck for 8 minutes while people stood there and tried to tell you to stop doing it. And you didn't do it. And then once they decide like enough is enough and they start uprising and saying enough is enough and showing people that they've had enough, now it's like the media spins it and like, oh, they're rioting. They need to stop doing that. Well, stop killing people. They just killed a man in Philly 2 or 3 days ago. The man had a knife. Why didn't you tase him? No, what you did was you dumped 10 shots into him.
They didn't have 14.
14?
14.
So apologize. I didn't even know how many shots. I just heard him and I was like, damn, they shot him at least 10 times. And he had a knife.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I heard they didn't have tasers. I haven't heard it wasn't even an option.
But you have 4 or 5 police officers, or 2 or 3, or whatever the case may be, who have gone through some sort of training for all these different situations. And you're telling me the first thing that came to your head when you saw a man running with a knife was, first of all, mind you, disclaimer, they weren't even supposed to be there. They called for medical help because the guy was having mental health issues and the police showed up. So your reaction to that, after knowing that he's got mental health issues, that he's going through something, that he's having some type of traumatic case in his head that's causing him to not think straight, I'm going to dump 14 shots into him. I mean, you have to look at the action. And that's why people are so frustrated. I can give you a perfect example. Before there was the George Floyds, you had Freddie Gray. That happened right here in Baltimore. Yeah. Freddie Gray went into the police vehicle, was fine, came out dead. No explanation for how it happened. People got mad. And what did they do? They had an uprising. How did the media paint it? They painted it that Black people are aggressive. Black people are tearing up everything, and it's not justified and it's wrong. And the police still haven't given an explanation, but they shouldn't be doing this. And we're going to give them a curfew. And anybody that's out protesting for what's right, which is equity and equality, and for police brutality to end, we're going to arrest them. So you have that platform already laid out. But I drove through Baltimore City every single day. I worked at UPS, so I had to drive through the city to get to work. Everything that was going on was a very small portion of Baltimore City. But you would have thought it was the entire city on fire. Then when you think about it, Morgan students also protested. This is my alma mater. I went there for my undergrad. I went there for my master's. I'm very proud of my HBCU. Students protested. They stood in the road. They chanted. They had signs. They peacefully assembled. What did the news do? Morgan students aggressively protesting in the streets, blocking traffic. It's all a narrative. It's all a narrative and how things are done, and it's deliberate.
Yep.
Let's paint them as the enemy while we let these cops off that clearly were doing the wrong thing. And then you have people under the comments when we're talking about having some type of open dialogue where you saw what happened and you have a moment right here to be the bigger person in the field. They're talking about hitting people with their cars. If I was down there, I'd run them over. Well, what the fuck? If I said that shit, I'd probably lose my job.
Yeah.
So riot to me is not the right term for it. I think that places blame on people that shouldn't be blamed for having a reaction to an action that constantly continues to happen over and over again with no change.
I agree. But my question is it the same reaction to the same action? So I'm not trying to minimize any of it. I'm just trying to get to the sentence. We have a Black person gets shot, we have uprisings. A Black person gets shot, we have uprisings. A Black person gets shot, we have uprisings. Nothing fucking changes. And all people are seeing all day long is Walmart destroyed and Target destroyed and videos of this and all the bad shit that happens. You see some. You see like the Flint guys that walked with them. They put their helmets down. They walked with them. You see some inspirational stuff come out of it, but most you see is negative. At what point does the narrative change, and what can happen to change it? Because the way it is right now and the way it's being reported and the divide in how it's being reported, nothing's going to change. So when does someone stand up and try to do something different on either side?
So when you think about history and you take it back to when we had leaders that did exactly what you're talking about, what happened to them?
That's exactly what I'm getting to.
They murdered them.
Yeah.
The Black Panthers leader, the Black Panther Party wasn't created to be some type of cult. And that's the message that's pushed. But they were there to protect Black people. You had KKK running around lynching people. So you create a Black militant group to protect people. And what did they do? They ran up into my man's room, and I think it was in Chicago, and lit his room up with, I think it was like 100 and some shots, and killed him. You take away all of our leaders that promote peace. And to me, a lot of the images that they show of peace is another form of trying to control people. I want to control how you react. So we're going to push the narrative that peacefully protest is the right thing to do. But even when we did that, it was wrong at the time. You had sit-ins. White people would beat the shit out of black people. You have a famous image that I've seen circulating, like, we need to get back to this. And white people posted where Martin Luther King is walking across the bridge, and I think it was in Alabama. Do they show what happened at the end of the bridge?
Yeah, didn't it turn out that? I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure they got hosed and they got their ass whooped. That's what happened.
Like, I was thinking, like, maybe someone tripped. I wasn't quite sure, but I thought it didn't turn out quite the way they expected.
He scraped his knee like Peter Griffin and Family Guy. So everybody circled around him. Somebody put bandages on him.
It was great when he was walking, but as soon as he stopped, it was fucked up.
They made sure he wasn't walking anymore. And then locked him up and put him in jail. So
they strung a little string across right at ankle level and tripped them all. They're laughing.
No. You know what they did was they put the tape up like a marathon, and when they completed it, everybody got snacks.
Yeah, it was
what happened. I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
They put right back across the bridge and then back across again. They could never get off the bridge and just going through.
Like a game of Pong, like a bad game of Pong.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know if this is working.
Oh my God.
So I guess my point in all this, just to bring it all full circle, is that there's never been a time in history where it's been okay for us to have any type of emotion but what people tell us to have. And a lot of the things that, it's not just about police brutality. Police, first of all, weren't even created for us to begin with. It started out as slave catchers, and then it formed into police. But when you think about all the different policies and things that are in place right now, that derive from what happened to us a while ago, because it leads back to your point, Mike, when you're talking about people generationally still carrying that stuff with them now. And you being born and having certain emotions and certain feelings, everything that's happening now derived from what happened before.
Yeah.
So you're talking about welfare and how there are policies in place where they will literally tell you you can't have your husband or your man in the home in order for you to receive your benefits. Where did that derive from? It derived from slavery. They took the man out of the house to break him and to break the woman so that they can have control. And therefore you either, buck break the men, which is doing things to them, sexually assaulting them, whatever the case may be, to break them from being strong and being able to meld them, or you take the man out of the family, they have kids, whatever the case may be, and then you ship him off somewhere else. So now that's in a policy where men have to literally stay out of the home for the woman to receive her benefits. So you have that. Then you have, this whole idea about, Black Americans being aggressive and being, angry. Where did that come from? It really is spun in the way of negativity, but Black people are resilient. We are that way because we have to be. We live in a world that does not do us any favors on any given day. And I have to teach my kids this, that when you go out in the world, and that feeds back to that point where I'm not sure who it was that said that it's a form of victimizing. I don't think it is, because I teach this to my students in my sociology class. I incorporate it in the things that I talk. So I talk about book subjects, but I'm also talking to them about things that you need to watch out for as a Black person. Because being a person is one thing, but being a Black person is a whole different paradigm. It's a whole different conversation.
I don't think that people are ready or willing to hear that. I think that there are people who are historically not racist. I'm not a racist. I love Black people, blah, 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 blah. That whole spiel. But that feeds into the white privilege thing, and that feeds into the idea that I don't understand it, therefore it doesn't exist. The talk being a thing that was brought up recently. And it's like
that stupid shit that happened.
I'm getting a little derailed here. I'm gonna hop over to some comments real quick, and so there's somebody Christy said that they want to know how you felt about the Nancy Pelosi thing. Oh boy, where the Dems wore African clothes to honor Michael Floyd. I don't think that's what you're talking about, but let me just answer this for him. It was stupid.
Thank you.
It was stupid. That was stupid.
Let me just hand you a shitty napkin and tell you to wipe your face. That's pretty much what that was. We stand with you in solidarity. We're not going to change the policies that affect you, but we'll get on a knee and put our fist up for you in fucking kente claws.
Yeah.
That shit did not make any sense to me. I really had a face palm moment when I saw that. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. This is the answer?
Yeah.
Who thought of this?
It's like, don't call me Nancy. That's my slave name, right?
That was just one thing I couldn't even comment about that. I watched that happen and I just wow. I didn't.
Yeah. I don't believe that no matter which political way you sway, anyone was going, good for them.
That was a
great job, guys.
Yo, whoever was their PR person for that needs to be fired.
Right. Yeah.
No job. Do not put it on your resume. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Take your ass to the unemployment line.
I'm the scarf guy from Nancy Pelosi. Hire me.
So, someone needs to get drug out and beat.
For real, with a sock full of fucking batteries.
With an African scarf full of batteries. So,
but it's like I said it at the beginning of our conversation. It's not like I sit on one side of the fence. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I don't think that one always has the answer and one doesn't. Like some people are die hard no matter what the person does. This is it. And I try to look at, when I'm looking at candidates, somebody to vote for, really a person's character, and how they present themselves and how they speak to people, and you know, we don't look at that enough. You know, it's the promises that we look at, knowing that a lot of them aren't going to be fulfilled. And you know, I think that's where we went wrong 4 years ago. I feel like people just overlooked all of the racist things that our current president of the free world said or has said. You know, he's literally came out and said things that if Obama did, I mean, even 0.1% of that, he would have been on his ass, sitting on the White House lawn with a box full of his shit.
right.
Like to say that, you know, African countries are shithole countries, or to say that people that come from Mexico undocumented, which is how America was established, you know, are rapists and drug addicts and, you know, drug dealers. And then, you know, to re-say that when he did his recent debate, you know, they asked him, what's up with these kids that don't have parents? And he's like, you know, a lot of the kids that come over here came over with drug dealers and smugglers and mules. And I'm like, wow, people will still vote for him, though, no matter what. I mean, no matter what.
Let me interrupt you real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Jeremy Walton is on here, and he's posting a lot of comments.
Okay.
And he wants to know now, how about what Biden has said? You can't bring up one and ignore the other.
I didn't ignore it.
Can I answer this
I
question?
didn't ignore it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I know, but I think that it's important that he hears you say that you're.
They're both racist.
One is more out than the other. But here's the thing: people are going to bring up certain points like, oh, the '94 crime bill. He signed for that. Black people were for the '94 crime bill.
Yeah, 100%.
They didn't expect for it to incriminate all black people, which is based on our, you know, percentage of the population is what it did. They weren't expecting that, but a lot of people wanted that to happen. A lot of people wanted to feel more safe. A lot of people didn't want the violence that was going on. A lot of people wanted change, and that's how it was presented. But he said some fucked up stuff too. I'm not saying he hasn't. Like when he said that, you know, the Latino culture is more diverse than black culture. That's bullshit. And I called him out when he said that. I was like, that's fucking trash. That's not true. And whoever believes that is trash. It is just an outrageous statement.
Is it because you're black? All right, I'm sorry.
Last time I checked, I might be Oriental. I don't know. Because apparently my culture is not that diverse.
Listen, it's 2020. If you want to be Latino, you're allowed to be.
Like, listen, this would be a really crazy statement, and I'd probably lose my job for it. So let's get this out here. They're both like fucking 80. There's no way they're not racist. It's generational shit. I mean, come the fuck on. Are you kidding
But
me?
then think about what you just said and think about all the people that sit in Congress
Exactly.
that sit there for a
they
fucking
can all
lifetime
get
and make the
fucked.
policies of what we live by.
Single one of those motherfuckers can go, except Jerry.
But that's why I said
Jerry.
that things are not going to change. They won't change.
Exactly.
Because no matter who you put in office, you still got these old crotchety white men that have been there since 1942 sitting on there making decisions for the new free world.
We got a few old crotchety white women too. Let's not leave them
Yes.
out. There's a
Yes,
couple
yes,
of
we
them
do.
spots that can leave immediately.
Let me just say old crotchety white people
Thank you.
that are not.
Are you talking about Toby Pelosi or whatever she wanted to go by?
I don't fucking know. I don't know, nor do I care. I just don't fucking get it.
That woman.
I
is
just don't get it.
And I don't swing one way or the other as far as that goes. But so this is the thing here. Career politicians need to go, and this is something that Walton just posted, and I feel like it's becoming a battle cry for the right. That career politicians need to go because Trump is not a politician. It behooves them to get out the career politicians.
So
It's a way to still love Trump, but still also be against any, be in the mainstream.
but what is his position right now?
Well,
He's the president, which is a politician.
right. No, I know.
At this point, it doesn't fucking matter what he did before. He walked into a realm and took the highest position in the nation.
Right.
You're a politician now.
Yeah. You can't say you're not a politician.
That's not a fair argument or a fair assessment.
I would say career politicians need to go, and I'm not saying it as a right rallying cry at all. Listen, these motherfuckers are getting rich off just making policies that don't help fucking anybody. And every time it's up for their election, they're like, hey, vote for me. I'm going to give you guys this shit. It's going to be great. Listen, we're all going to be fucking eating grapes. I got some guys away from palm leaves. We're going to have a great fucking time. And it never happens. It never fucking happens. And we just keep electing these people over and over and over and over again. So they get that.
That's exactly why I said that the only way that there would ever be true change is if you dismantled the entire thing. You would have to take it piece by piece and build it back up. And you can't, there's no way that that's going to happen.
It's too ingrained.
There's no way it's going to happen. It would imagine where we are. You said 60 years. And imagine how much change you see now, quote unquote. Do you realize how long it would take for them to dismantle everything and then put fair people in the office that really cared about the well-being of everyone? It's impossible.
Generation.
There's no way.
It would take a generation. Yeah,
it would take like 20.
Yeah.
It would take like 20. And that probably is on the low end. There's no way to dismantle the entire system. And that's why I said I don't feel like anything's gonna change. I feel like the person that's gonna be running things is gonna have a better mouthpiece. He's gonna sound better saying the shit that he's not doing. He's not gonna be an open racist. But I mean, you're like I said, you're taking away the shit stain napkin and giving me a piss stain one.
Yeah.
And either way, I gotta wipe my face and I got shit all over it. So. I mean, it's unfortunate. Like I said, I just don't see anything major happening. The best that, people of color can do is, try to do the best that you can, look out for each other, try to teach each other different things. And that's the one thing I can say I'm really proud of. A lot of my friends, a lot of the people I know, a lot of educators are teaching kids that are coming up, the things that they need to learn to survive, like balancing a checkbook, or balancing their finances, or budgeting, or, knowing what credit cards to get so that they can come out and have good credit so that they can get themselves to a stable place in order to get loans or whatever the case may be. But even to that point, there's still a gap in how people are treated, even with that, when you're trying to do better. You had a mixed race couple, black woman, white man, who bought a house or was selling their house. So they had a, what's it called when you have somebody come into appraiser? They had an appraiser come into the house. First appraiser. He looks at the entire house. The property value for all the houses around it are about $400,000 average. He appraised their house for $200,000. They were like, what the fuck? So what they did was they went in the home and took out all the black shit and had another appraiser come in. Do you want to know what they appraised that house at? $450,000. He took off $200,000 off their appraisal because somebody black lived there, dog.
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe it. I believe it 100%.
So
it's crazy.
You know, I knew this was going to be. I mean, because this conversation doesn't have an end.
Never.
Particular conversation, and I hope it doesn't. And I mean that in a positive way. I hope that this conversation never has an end. I hope there's always people learning from each other, and I think that's the point of this show, is that we wanted to talk to people who had a unique perspective, and that me personally, I wanted to come out ahead. I wanted to learn something that maybe, or open my eyes in a way that I didn't understand. If there was somebody out there listening right now who, might believe that, racism doesn't exist anymore, or that, black people are playing victim and they're only feeling this way because, they're taught to feel this way, or any of these, or, the Confederate flag is just my racial heritage. I have a right to fly this. If you could say something like to these people in a way that was like, where you could have a real conversation with them. If you're just gonna be like, hey, you're a fucking idiot, then I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? But if you could actually say, if you felt like you could say something to somebody, what would it be? Like how do you think you could reach somebody like that?
So in order to reach somebody, no matter what my intention is, it is indicative of the other party to be willing to listen to change. And I'm always willing to have a conversation with somebody who's willing to change, or willing to at least listen in order to promote growth. But a lot of people don't listen. They hear you. They hear what you're saying, but they're not listening. They're hearing so that they can respond.
Yep.
They're not listening to what you have to say. And, I am not by any means, living in poverty and struggling and, frustrated. I busted my ass. I busted my ass. I own my own car. I own my house. I give back. I do all those things. But people seem to think that because you get to a certain status in life that you don't experience certain things. And even for me, my wife and I we had a nonprofit where we gave back, to inner city communities, whether it was through feeding, the homeless. We did a prom drive for students that couldn't afford, prom dresses and suits. But we had a box full of stuff in our back seat, and we went to 7-Eleven up the street, and my wife had just bought her car. And she was messing with the lights and turned the auto off. And I said, don't do that, because if you don't have your headlights on, you can get pulled over. So I guess she did it, not realizing that it happened. And we pulled up at the 7-Eleven, and there was a cop sitting in the parking lot. So we go inside. Mind you, we pulled straight in. He was sitting with the car facing the street. So he watched us pull in, get inside, get all our stuff, back up. Lights are still off. Turn around, get into the street, get into traffic, and then start going home. And he pulls out and he pulls us over. So I'm like, I'm not sure what the hell he's pulling us over for at this point. He walks up to the car and he's like, hey, do you realize that you have your headlights off? And we were like, no, we didn't realize we had our headlights off. We didn't know. He was like, yeah, I saw you pull in with your headlights off. So immediately on my head, I'm like, he wants something else. This isn't a routine traffic stop. You could have stopped me at any point when I pulled in to say, your headlights are off. You might not want to pull into traffic. Somebody could hit you. He deliberately waited until I got back out into traffic to pull me over. So I'm waiting for the bomb to drop. I'm like, what does he want? And the next question is, what's all the boxes doing in your back seat? I'm like, he thinks we stole something.
Okay.
And I had to explain to him in the most calm manner, because we clearly see what happens when people get frustrated by something being wrong. We had to explain to him, we run a nonprofit. We give back to communities. This is what we do. This is prom dresses from a prom drive. We have shampoos and stuff in the back seat for, the homeless who can't afford these things or can't get to a shower to take care of themselves. And he's like, oh, I just wanted to know because there's been a lot of robberies going on in the area. We don't even live in an area where there's a lot of crime. So, that whole point is crap. But I say all that not as a way to play the victim role, but just to get people to understand that this is something that happens to us every day. Every single day, I have to worry about something happening to me when I jump in my car, when I go to the store, when I go to meet with friends, when I travel out of the country, out of the state. This is stuff that you have to worry about. I shouldn't have to be afraid when I drive past and I see a cop pull up behind me, or he hops on the highway and I automatically have the feelings of anxiety because I feel like something bad is going to happen. I shouldn't, as a taxpayer, as somebody who has never been into any trouble, never been arrested, and no record, I 2 degrees, a professor before the age of 30, and gives back to the community, I should never have to worry about any of that. But the reality in this world is people that look like me, no matter whether you're low income, middle, and sometimes high, have these things that we deal with that affect us in ways that you guys honestly don't have to think about, like you said before. And if you're not willing to hear and you're not willing to listen, there's nothing that I can tell you that will get you to change your mind if you're not willing to listen and you're just hearing to respond.
I think it's weird that all of a sudden people are surprised when the police are racist, when driving while black has been a joke. It's been joked about for 30 fucking years. Driving while black gets you pulled over. How come all of a sudden they're like, why do they think the police are racist? Why is it a new thing?
It's true. Well, I think it goes back again to, what we were speaking about before, is that the age of technology is that of now I can videotape everything. Now I can record or take pictures or even live stream on Facebook sometimes. The inequality in action, it is what it is now. Before it was like, it's a joke, driving while black. And it's like, yeah, but now it's not a joke. It's real. And it wasn't a joke.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a joke.
No. I'm saying that was it, you didn't realize the seriousness of it until
it was so ingrained in the culture, it became like a running joke. It was so.
But also, think about how many times you laughed to keep from crying.
I didn't hear you.
I said, how many times do you laugh to keep from crying?
Do I laugh? A lot. That's my defense mechanism.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of times,
so many fucking crisis. People have to think I'm insane. That's what I do. I'm a fucking terrible person.
Man, I mean, we literally joke about things to cope.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of that this year. This has been a very hard year. And Dustin knows I snapped my leg right at the end of December. I couldn't walk for like 5 months. Oh, you did too?
Did too.
A couple years ago, yeah.
3. Did 4.
I got a long list. I'm on my 4th ACL.
Oh my God. I've broken my arms 5 times and now I broke my leg.
You what?
I said I broke my arm 5 times and then I've broken my leg.
Oh yeah, listen, where you live in Maryland?
Yep.
Don't come any fucking closer to Michigan. I feel like if we get closer together, dude, it's gonna be like
we're just gonna be one broken ass person and shit.
You seen that Hancock movie? Like,
yep.
If you get anywhere near me, I'm gonna just fall apart. Mr. Glass.
Like fuckers just turned to dust and shit. But
at least Dennis, at least you broke your leg doing something. This man broke his leg walking.
Yeah, I was walking to a moving track.
And you listen, we need to flip the roles. Your ass needs to stay away from me. Just you stay over there. Don't come over here. Don't come to the other M state. You stay over there.
Listen, I had the exact same injury that Dak Prescott has. The compound fracture and dislocation. I got that walking to a moving truck.
Oh my
God. Listen, I wasn't saving anybody, or it was no puppy. I just walked.
I know, hero. I'm just clumsy.
I was at Sky Zone, man, a little trampoline place, and I went up, and my leg literally just snapped in half. Like the whole thing just snapped. Yeah. So it was fucked up. I saw that Dak Prescott, and that's why I was like, I vow not to talk shit this year because I saw how bad that was, and I was like, I felt every piece of that.
That's how
Like,
my
I
foot
felt every piece of that. Oh my God.
Dude,
God bless you.
I was standing there, and then I got shot in the collarbone, and it broke. A bullet went through it, and that's why I broke my collarbone.
Listen,
So,
Pussy,
yeah, I feel you
we're not
guys.
talking about your fucking problems.
Oh my gosh.
So I feel you. I broke my shit too. It's rough. It's one time when I was 14, I broke out like on my forehead. It was broke pretty bad. Got some clear still.
Oh my gosh.
Christy said, forget you were out cold. Christy, more than one person has seen me unconscious. I'm going to tell you right now, I've knocked myself out more than once.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna need you to stop that shit too, man.
You what?
I said I'm gonna need you to stop that shit too, man.
You get knocked
All
out a
of
lot. DJ, you been knocked out?
Nah. Oh, you know what? I lied. I have. It was in Arizona when I broke my arm for the 5th time. I ran face first into a boulder and I knocked the fuck out. I was gone with the damn wind. I saw my tooth fly out my mouth, and the next thing I know, I woke the fuck up and I was like, "How did I get here?" That shit happened. I looked like a fucking Looney Tune character. That's how I hit that shit. I was running full speed like the fucking Flash and just smacked face first into a boulder and just went out.
Why?
Like Wile E. Coyote. It's just like
I was hiking and I was sliding downhill and I guess I popped a rock and it popped me up and then I just started running. I couldn't stop. And the next thing I know, the rock stopped me, crash dummy style. And, like I said, I lost half my tooth and I woke up, my arm was broken. I was like, I'm not hiking no more. Fuck that shit.
It's the hiking's fault. It's
That's why we don't fucking hike, man.
For real. That's there are just certain things that people that look at me just shouldn't be fucking doing, and hiking is one of them. Stay your ass inside, stay your ass on the sidewalk. Don't be out here doing nothing crazy.
I'm one of those people that should stay on the sidewalk, and I still get hurt on the sidewalk. I try my fucking best.
Oh my God, man. God bless you. God bless your soul. Jesus.
Oh, all right, guys. Well, this is fun. Dennis, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your unique perspective with us. You definitely, I hope it reached some people, at least provide a little understanding. And I hope you guys don't get any closer together so you don't fucking explode or crumple.
These screens are enough. My screen's right next to him, and that shit is enough. We'll be friends from a distance, friend. I see you over there. You see me right here. Let's keep it there. But I appreciate the opportunity.
Makes me sore.
Like, yeah, after this, I'm gonna have to go soak my knee for real. I'm gonna have to go put that bitch in Epsom salt.
You guys have almost a full set of bones between the two of you. Almost.
Hey, listen, we might be part bionicle. Like, I got the leg parts covered. He may have the arms. I don't know, man. We're good. I think we're good.
All right, man. Well,
Broken
stick around. We're gonna end it here, but hey, stick around. We'll talk to you a little bit after the show.
All right, y'all take it easy.
All right, guys.